He had no last name, no country, no freedom, no rights under Roman law. He owned nothing, not even his own body. And he became the philosopher that Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, read every single morning before he faced the world. His name was Epictetus. In Greek, it means one thing, acquired property. That was his name, that was his identity. That was everything Rome said he was. He disagreed. What he built from nothing, no wealth, no status, a broken leg, and exile, is one of the most astonishing stories in the history of human thought, and almost no one tells it the way it actually happened. Today, we fix that. Around 50 AD, in the city of Hierapolis, and in what is now southwestern Turkey, a child was born to a slave woman. Because his mother was a slave, he was a slave from his first breath. That was Roman law. That was his inheritance. He had no name of his own. History never recorded it. As a boy, he was transported to Rome, the capital of the world, a city of 1 million people, a machine of absolute hierarchy. His master was Epictetus, a secretary to Emperor Nero himself. Think about what that means. The most powerful office in the known world, and Epictetus swept its floors. Epictetus was himself a former slave who had risen through the imperial ranks. In 68 AD, he assisted Nero in committing suicide, since Nero could not bring himself to do it, with the emperor lamenting his final words. "What an artist dies in me." This was the household Epictetus grew up in. Violence, power, and proximity to death were daily realities. Epictetus endured physical torment during his enslavement. One ancient account describes his master twisting his leg deliberately to test his endurance. Epictetus reportedly said calmly, "You will break it." When it snapped, he simply said, "I told you so." Whether this account is literally true or legendary, it contains a truth that defined his entire philosophy. The body can be broken, the will cannot, unless you surrender it. This is not a story about resilience as a personality trait. This is a story about a philosophical system constructed under conditions of maximum pressure, and then proven by those same conditions. Epictetus didn't develop his ideas in a comfortable library. He developed them in chains. Here is where the story turns. Epictetus, recognizing his slave's extraordinary intellectual ability, sent him to study under Gaius Musonius Rufus, one of the most respected Stoic teachers of the Roman era. A slave, studying philosophy. At the center of Rome, Musonius Rufus was himself a radical. He taught that philosophy was not for aristocrats, it was for everyone: women, slaves, the poor. He believed that the philosophical life was a practice, not a theory, and that it had to be lived in the body before it could be understood by the mind. Epictetus absorbed everything, and here is the psychological insight that changed everything for him. The one idea that reoriented his entire existence. There are things within your control, and there are things outside your control. That's it. The entire Stoic framework, reduced to one distinction. The Greeks called it the dichotomy of control. Epictetus called it the foundation of everything. He wrote, and this is the opening line of the Enchiridion, his handbook, that some things are up to us, and some things are not. Up to us, our judgments, our desires, our responses, our choices. Not up to us, our bodies, our reputations, our property, other people, the past. For a free man, this is a philosophy. For a slave, this is survival technology. When you own nothing, when your body itself belongs to someone else, the only territory that remains yours is the interior. Your attention, your interpretation, your response. Epictetus understood this not as abstraction, but as daily lived fact. Modern psychology has a name for this. Julian Rotter, a psychologist at the University of Connecticut, formalized it in 1954 as locus of control, the degree to which a person believes their outcomes are determined by their own behavior versus external forces. Research consistently shows that people with an internal locus of control, those who believe their choices shape their lives, report higher well-being, lower anxiety, and greater resilience under adversity. Epictetus discovered this in the 1st century AD, without a laboratory. Sometime after the death of Nero in 68 AD, Epictetus was freed. He became a freedman, a Roman citizen of the lowest class, but a citizen nonetheless. He was in his 20s. He had no money, no property, no connections. He had one thing: the clearest mind in Rome. He opened a school. His school attracted rich and powerful aristocrats from across the empire. The man who had been property was now teaching the propertied class how to think. He charged almost nothing. He lived simply: a small house, a straw mat, a lamp. Ancient sources say he owned so few possessions that when someone stole his iron lamp, he laughed and replaced it with a clay one. He said, "I will buy one appropriate to myself." But the empire had other plans. In 89 AD, Emperor Domitian expelled all philosophers from Rome. Many were executed. Epictetus went into exile in Nicopolis, Greece, banished. For the second time in his life, he had nothing: a new city, no school, no students, no infrastructure. He built again. This is the pattern of his life. And it is not coincidental. It is the philosophy made visible. Every time the external world stripped him of something, freedom, his leg, his city, his school, he rebuilt from the interior. Because the interior was the only thing no emperor, no master, no law could legislate. The Emperor Hadrian, one of the most powerful rulers in Roman history, visited Epictetus in Nicopolis. He traveled to see a former slave. He sat at his feet. Think about that image. The Emperor of Rome, sitting in a modest Greek schoolroom, listening to a lame freedman explain that power over others is meaningless compared to power over oneself. Hadrian was not the only one. Arrian, one of the great historians of antiquity, studied under Epictetus as a young man and recorded his lectures in what became the Discourses and the Enchiridion, the two texts that have survived to the present day. Epictetus himself wrote nothing. He considered the spoken word, the living conversation, the only true form of philosophical transmission. Let's go deeper into the idea itself. Because the dichotomy of control is not just philosophy, it is one of the most empirically supported frameworks in modern behavioral science, and most people misunderstand it. The misunderstanding goes like this: if I can only control my response, then I am helpless in the world. That's passivity. That's giving up. Epictetus anticipated this objection. He said the opposite is true. When you stop expending energy on what you cannot control, you have an enormous amount of energy for what you can. Neuroscience calls this attentional resource allocation. The human brain has a finite capacity for focused attention. When significant cognitive resources are directed at outcomes we cannot influence, other people's opinions, past events, uncertain futures, those resources are simply unavailable for executive function, creative problem solving, and behavioral change. Anxiety, in the clinical sense, is largely the misdirection of attentional resources toward uncontrollable outcomes. The therapeutic intervention for anxiety, across CBT, ACT, DBT, involves a version of the same move Epictetus described. Redirect attention from the uncontrollable to the controllable, from the outcome to the process, from the verdict to the behavior. Aaron Beck developed cognitive behavioral therapy in the 1960s. He did not cite Epictetus, but his framework is structurally identical. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Auschwitz and wrote Man's Search for Meaning, described the same insight from inside a different kind of captivity. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our freedom. In that freedom is our growth. He called it the last human freedom. Epictetus called it the only freedom that matters. They arrived at the same place, one from a Greek schoolroom, one from a concentration camp. The convergence is not coincidence. It is evidence that this insight is not cultural or era-specific. It emerges wherever human beings are pushed to the absolute limit of what they can bear and are forced to ask, what, if anything, remains mine? The answer, consistently across centuries and continents, the response, the interpretation, the interior. What did Epictetus actually teach in that small schoolroom in Nicopolis? Not theory, practice. He was famous for aggressive, direct instruction. He would ask a student, "What did you do this morning that was consistent with your stated values?" If the student hesitated, he would push harder. He had no patience for the gap between what people said they believed and how they actually lived. What did Epictetus actually teach in that small schoolroom in Nicopolis? Not theory, practice. He was famous for aggressive, direct instruction. He would ask a student, "What did you do this morning that was consistent with your stated values?" If the student hesitated, he would push harder. He had no patience for the gap between what people said they believed and how they actually lived. He called this gap epistemic cowardice, and he considered it the primary obstacle to a philosophical life. Not ignorance, not circumstance. The unwillingness to look clearly at the distance between your ideals and your behavior. He taught 3 disciplines, 3 domains of practice. First, the discipline of desire, training yourself to want only what is within your control, not success, not approval, not outcomes, only the quality of your effort, your attention, your character. Second, the discipline of action, acting with full commitment while remaining unattached to outcomes. Do everything as if it matters. Hold the results lightly. Third, the discipline of assent, the most advanced of the 3. Training yourself to pause between impression and response, to interrogate every automatic judgment before you act on it. In modern terms, metacognition, thinking about your thinking. The neural substrate of this practice is the prefrontal cortex, the region that regulates the amygdala's automatic threat responses. Training assent is, quite literally, training the brain. Epictetus died around 135 AD. He had lived approximately 80 years, an extraordinary lifespan for the ancient world, especially for a man who had begun life in captivity. He never married, though he urged marriage on others. In his old age, he adopted the child of a friend who would otherwise have been left to die, and raised the boy with the help of a woman companion. He died in the same simplicity in which he had always lived. But what he left behind was not simple. Marcus Aurelius, born the same year Epictetus opened his school in Nicopolis, grew up reading the discourses. He credits Epictetus repeatedly in the Meditations, the philosophy that sustained an emperor through plague, war, betrayal, and the slow dissolution of everything he had built. That philosophy was forged in a slave's captivity. The transmission is staggering when you trace it. A slave in Hierapolis, Turkey, transported to Rome, broken and freed, exiled to Greece, teaching a young aristocrat named Arrian, who wrote everything down. Those writings reaching a 12-year-old Roman boy who would become emperor. That emperor writing his own journal in a military tent on the Danube, working through the same ideas. That journal surviving 2,000 years and reaching you. Here is what I want to leave you with. Epictetus built his philosophy under conditions designed to destroy it. He had no freedom, no property, no security. A body that had been broken by someone else's cruelty. And from that position, he articulated a theory of freedom so precise and so rigorous that emperors studied it. The lesson is not that suffering makes you wise. It doesn't. Most suffering just makes people smaller. The lesson is that suffering, combined with a commitment to understanding it clearly and responding to it deliberately, that combination can produce something extraordinary, not despite the constraints, because of what the constraints forced him to discover. Epictetus never owned a house, never published a book, never held office. He owned something more durable than any of those things. He owned his response. Every day, under every condition, until the last one. The question he would ask you right now, not gently, not with patience, is the same question he asked every student who sat in that small schoolroom in Greece. What are you actually practicing? Not what do you believe? What are you practicing? That's the whole thing, that's all of it. Start there. Start